everyone! Good morning! Maayong buntag sa inyong tanan ug daghan kaayong salamat for joining us this morning for our online training on digital citizenship. I am once again Rechelle Ann Barraquias, a chairperson of the Development Communication Department here in Xavier University at Ateneo de Cagayan. For this morning, I'm assigned to talk about how we can stay informed and how we can equip ourselves with the skills to evaluate the accuracy, the perspective, and even the validity of things that we see on social media, the digital media for that matter, using the 5 key concepts of media literacy. Thus, my talk is entitled, I Am Informed. As an informed digital citizen, I evaluate the accuracy, perspective, and validity of digital media and social media posts. Here are the things that we will talk about this morning. First, we'll talk about the definition of media literacy vis-a-vis digital literacy. We'll also delve about the 5 concepts of media literacy. We'll try to deconstruct digital messages using these 5 key questions of media literacy. And later on, we'll do our application by evaluating legitimacy of media messages through the 5 key questions of media literacy. Before we proceed with our discussion, let's have a little game. I'll show you some logos of different social media brands or social networking sites. And I'd like you to guess what these social media logos refer to. You can type in your answers in our comment box below. Ready? 3, 2, 1, let's start. Can you guess what this icon stands for? Type in your question. Type in your answer now. 3, 2, 1. If you typed in WhatsApp, then you're right. So WhatsApp is actually used similar to Messenger, but I think in other countries it's a very popular brand because they prefer it over Messenger. What about this one? I'm sure you're all familiar with this one, especially because if you are part of an organization, it's the easiest way to send in your emails and get informed and connected with what's going on in your organization. If you typed in Gmail, then yes, you got the correct answer. What about this? During the pandemic, this has been an application that we've all gotten ourselves used to, or if not, we tried to learn how to use it. In fact, we're here in this webinar using this application. So yes, this is the Zoom application. How about this? 3, 2, 1. Nakatype na ba ang tanan? If you've answered Telegram, then yes, that's the correct answer. Now, Telegram is another option like WhatsApp and Messenger. For some people, they prefer Telegram because it's more secure. It's less susceptible to getting hacked. Pero ang uban kay para daw kuno sa mga ilang mga side beats, mga showbets. Chika lang po na ha. Now, how about this one? If you're trying to build on your reputation, your professional branding and imaging in the digital sphere, then you should be familiar with this logo. This is LinkedIn. So many people who are invested in building on their career online um, use LinkedIn to beef up their resume or their CVs. So if you're familiar with this one, then good job. How about this? Familiar pa ba ta aning tanan? Now, this is the new logo for Meta. Now, Facebook rebranded itself, I think early last year, late last year, into a new brand called Meta. But of course, it's just the name or the brand. We're still using it as Facebook as it is. Other than the name, wala may lain nagbago. How about this? Ay, what ninyo nakita kay cellphone ra ba nakita ninyo? Ayun. Aside from Meta, another popular social media or social networking site has also rebranded this year. Human siya gipalit ni Elon Musk. This is X, formerly known as Twitter. So goodbye to the bird. Hello to X. This one, ay kani, very popular among our students. Familiar ba ta ani? Actually, if you go to the site, it's in color green. So kung familiar ka ani, dili ka basta-basta mailad sa imong estudyante. This logo is for Chat GPT from OpenAI. So ila-ilahon nato ang logo sa best friend karon sa ato ang mga estudyante. Lastly, uy, kabalo siya ani. Kung wala, then let me introduce you to the logo of Tinder. Now, Tinder is a logo or is an application used by those who are actively in search for their love life. So, daghan na daw ko nakakita sa ilahang the one din ni. Pero kung wala pa, pasig mao na ni imuhang sign. Now, kidding aside, Tinder is another dating app out there which is just one among the many. Now, what's the relevance of knowing all those social media apps or social networking site logos and actually being familiar with these logos? Now, it has something to do with the fact that these days we are surrounded by contents, by information fed to us or that we get or access from the digital world. And that is what we are going to talk about today, our digital literacy. Now, ever wonder why sometimes when you were just talking about something, say you're thinking about buying a shoe or you're looking for an apartment and then you Google it or probably try to search it on Facebook's marketplace. And later on, you notice that similar products have already been fed to you on your Facebook feed. Napuno na dayon ka, and then you'd probably think, oh, it's probably meant to be. Now, before you think about that this item or that you are meant to really purchase the product kay pareho kayo ang iniisip or advance kayong mag-isip, then it's also very important that we get familiar with the word algorithm, meaning it's how the social media detects your behavior online. That is why it's feeding you with information that it wants you to know vis-a-vis your interest or vis-a-vis your needs. And when we understand this one, we gain the power over these products. Now, algorithm are equipping ourselves with the skill to not be easily persuaded with what we see online is one skill that we get to develop with media and information literacy. And I'm sure this is not the first time that you've heard of MIL. For those who are teaching in the senior high school, MIL as a subject is a core course from the new curriculum of the K to 12. So sa mga familiar na, this could just be a review to you, but of course it's good to repeat them para di yun siya malimtan, diba? Never forget. Anyway, media and information literacy is a set of competencies that empower citizens. So dili lang ang ato ang mga estudyante, kundi kitang tanan inside and outside the classroom. It equips us with competences to access, retrieve, understand, evaluate and use, create and even share information and media content in all formats using various tools in a critical, ethical, and effective way in order to participate and engage in personal, professional, and societal activities. Now, that's a lot of things to process kung bago pa nimo nadunggan ang media and information literacy, no? But simply put, media and information literacy provides us or equips us to be prepared to sift through information. Meaning, di lang ta basta-basta nga magdawat og information. We are critical about things that we hear from media or social media for this matter. And dili lang siya sa pagdawat, but also that we actively seek for information. We look for information that would verify its sources. That we are not gullible into believing everything that's fed to us, di ba? Dili man ta mga marites na kung unsay gisulti tuo dayon diretsyo or i-share dayon diretsyo without actually verifying kung tinuod or dili. With media and information literacy, we take part to the conversation in an informed, in an ethical, and professional manner. What does this mean? It means that MIL is essential for democracy because we're not just engaging in conversations gamit ang ato ang feelings, but we are engaging in conversations about information we got from media through information that we've verified. So that I think that's a lot of things to process, no? But later on, I hope along the way during our discussion, it's something that we can ponder upon. Now, dako kaayo nga ecosystem ang MIL. As I've said during our definition of what MIL is, it composes of a lot of competencies. Dili lang sa pag-access sa information, even pag-retrieve, paggamit, and share this information to everybody. So, mo ni nakita sa screen, this is the MIL ecosystem. It composes of information literacy, media literacy, advertising literacy, news literacy, television, cinema, games, internet, computer, library literacy, the freedom of expression, and FOI or freedom of information literacy, and lastly, digital literacy. And we'd like to zero in on this particular literacy of the MIL ecosystem. Digital literacy. Mao man ang ato ang title sa ato ang training, no? Now, what is digital literacy? Now, digital literacy refers to the skills needed to navigate and use digital technologies like the internet, social media, and mobile devices for communication, learning, and work in today's society. Simply put, if you're able to navigate through your computer, you're able to access those apps that we've mentioned sa tuang dula kaganina, then you are one step into being digital literate. Now, dili lang ang digital literacy about the skill of knowing how to use these applications. But, naana siya caveat sa iyahang sa skill. It's not only learning to use it, like just learning to use it or navigate it, but learning to use it responsibly. How do we navigate to the digital world in a responsible manner? Now, this is where the 5 concepts of media literacy comes in. So regardless of what medium, whether it's television, news, radio, and this one, online, these 5 core concepts of media literacy will help us understand how media products work. So these are the 5 concepts. The first one is that all messages are constructed. Second, that media messages are constructed using creative language, which use its own rules. Pangatlo or ikatulo, that different people experience the same media message differently, that media messages have embedded values and points of view, and number 5, that most media messages are organized to gain profit and or power. Now, we will discuss each of these core concepts in a while and show you some examples para mas mapalahong pa ang atong pagsabot ni ining 5 core concepts of media literacy. Now, the first core concept of the 5 concepts of media literacy talks about the authorship or the source. It stresses that all messages are constructed, or the constructedness of messages. Here, it says that media messages, whether in the form of news, TV ads, TV programs, or even social media posts, they're not objective or natural occurrences. In fact, they're deliberately created by individuals, organizations, or entities. I have a friend who would always ask before watching a movie, kinsa kay director ana? It's a producer. Sometimes people create a perception of what they're watching based on the credibility of the source or of the director. So once you see a message, maybe you begin or take a pause and ask, how is this message here? Who are the authors? Who are the sources? Who is the source of this material? I'll show you a video example to really make a point about this core concept. No minimum spend sa Shopee. this video or that video that you watch, nga pa commercial sa Shopee. Sorry naman po. Um, that video that you watch is actually one of my favorites when sharing about the constructedness of media. Now, it does not just delve onto how beauty is distorted, but it talks about how messages or how products of media is was made or created from the collaborative efforts of a team. Whether there's a director, there's makeup artist, there's the editor, there's the lightsman, costume designer. It's one big team that decides what it wants to feed the audience. Now, dili tanan media products tibuok team gyud ang magamit or tibuok team ang naa. But what we're saying here is that media products or social media posts, for instance, na siya source, na gigikanan, na inibuhat ana. And you have to look or spot who that source or author is. I'll show you another example. Yeah, before that, when we talk about the source, these are the questions that we need to discuss or talk about. Um, who created the message? Unsa man din nga type ng media? Is it a post? Kung post siya sa social media like FB post, dali nimo siya makita, dali nimo mailhan. Unless anonymous nga tao ang pangalan gibutang, no? How similar or different is it to others of the same genre? Same TikTok posts? Nay uban nga parody ra day siya or giawat ra di ay siya. How does it compare to other similar media? Kung tweets, unsay you have to spot unsay pareho o unsay dili pareho niya. To all other sources, to all other posts, to all other TikTok videos that you watch. Which technologies are used in its creation? For social, for Facebook post, or for a rant for that matter, aman niya gibutang ang iyang opinion or opinion na lang, no, rather than rant. What words were conveyed or used? But basically, in this concept, we focus on where the message is coming from. Here's one example, and this one got my attention a few weeks back. So I saw this one online, and not knowing who Rendon Labador is, I thought somebody famous and passed on to another dimension because of this post. But when I search into the source and realize, nag-search ako kinsa si Rendon, and then I realize siya dito ang the person behind the inspirational rice ba to? And then search the source and found out, okay, it's actually not real that he's passed on. But this particular message was constructed by probably one or two person who thought it's funny nga i-liken ang iyahang i-liken ang pag-pass on niya or sa pagka-ban or pagkawala sa iyahang social media account, either if it's on Facebook or YouTube. Here, for Blinks who are fans out there, this one is another example I saw online. Lisa leave YG. Blackpink disbanding this year, and then with an emoticon cry. If you search this one online, you would probably come across with similar fan pages, but not credible sources, like a news outlet, like an established media site that actually confirms this. So looking at this, tanaw ni mo murag himo raman gid ni siya naka-Canva post lang giput together ang pictures. There's not even a picture nga nagbuhat siya og official nga statement or official nga press release. So here you'd understand, dili man siguro ni, mugna raman siguro ni. So that's a constructedness of media. Meaning somebody had the time to put these photos together, including I don't know kung tinuod ni na Twitter nga tweet nga nag-trending bagid siya nga hashtag, but it's obviously being put together by somebody to make it sound or make it appear that ma-preempt kung muhawa man siya or dili sa Blackpink, but this one is preempting the information or news. Now, the second core concept is that media messages are constructed using creative language, using its own rules. Pasabot, different app, different rules ang iyahang creativity or ang iyang execution. As what you can see here, different media have distinct formats and languages, and understanding these characteristics is crucial for media literacy. Kung Facebook, you can attracted sa Facebook because of photos, because of the videos it's able to share, and that dako og platform si Facebook, dako siya og following. If it's Twitter, although naanay photos and videos nga gi-allow si Twitter, I mean X pala mo naman day ang bagong pangalan si X. It's still a microblogging website. Mas gagamiton siya to share your posts, to share your opinions or thoughts about something. If it's IG or Instagram, people follow you because of your photos. Dili kaayo about sa imuhang caption. Although na yung mga uban nga manukad sa caption, but IG is really for photos. Gmail is for exchanging emails. You don't exchange photos for Gmail unless gusto ka nga i-share lang siya and not for everybody else. So when we're talking about the second core concept of media literacy, we're looking into the creative techniques used to attract the audience, di ba? What do you notice about the way the message is constructed? Giun sa pagpagawas ang mga message, giun sa niya pag-frame. How was the story told visually? What are the people doing? What made it seem so real or unreal? Now, here's a video of a movie trailer that I'd like you to assess the format, kung na-attract ba ta, attract in a good way or bad way. I'll leave it up to you. Here's an example.
Huwag isipan ang kabuktutan. Manalig lamang sa panig ng kabutihan.
Ano po sa mga tumanggap ng iyong biyaya sa inyong pangalan. Ama, iniwala po sila. Meron po kayong pagpapalang gagawin sa kanilang mga buhay.
Sa kamay ng Diyos. Pastor Jonard Pamor Story. Directed by Sally M.
Kamay ng Diyos.
Now, for this particular video or trailer that we saw from YouTube, I mean, it's nothing against the movie. You can all watch it if you want. It's more on the format. Yung nakita ninyo ang mga effects nga gigamit. Were you convinced nga realistic tong mga effects nga iyang gigamit? Mga font style nga gigamit. How was the story told visually? Were the techniques used good enough to convince you to watch it, diba? So that's with the format. So kayong mga techniques or mga style, diba, that attracted your attention. Oh, here's another one. So di lang siya sa video, no? Look at this one. This one is a post I got a few weeks back from a Gucci event, and a fan actually photoshopped photo of James Reid and Nadine and put them all together and made it seem so believable. If I didn't know that they're not together, or if I didn't know any better, then I'd probably think they actually took this photo together. So in terms of creative techniques, you must give it to the artist or the source sa ato ang number one ganina for putting up, for being able to put this photo together and make it seem real. Nabuhi ang mga Jadine fans once again. Oh, here's another one. And I'm sure this is something that's common or familiar to you. Kaning mga scam messages. So, when we say creative techniques, dili lang siya visual nga techniques like nag-Photoshop siya or nag-put together. Even how words were put together that makes it seem so real. Kaning mga scam messages, thank you for your interest in applying, and then nakita nimo ang number niya, not even an official number from BPI. So pag message ka sa ilaha, 'di ba makita nimo very believable. Scam messages are very believable. Some of them do not come in the form of text messages. Some of them would even call you and ask you unsa inyo ang mga OTPs or one-time password. And makatuog yun kaayo ka because, of course, there's a facility in language, di ba? Mingon pa na sila na, naiuban nga, I've heard of a scam wherein they will ask you a question nga answerable by yes or no. Mingon na sila nga, oh, this is, this message is, this call is being recorded. Are you okay with that? So pag mingon ka og yes, actually it's like a trap to say that you're giving consent to you divulging some information about you. So that's one creative technique used by scammers nowadays. Maayo po kayo ni sila mo gamit magudtog sa ilahang tool or sa ilahang medium nga gagamiton. Pag manawag sila, many of them sound so professional. Sa mga text messages na uban nga mo palya na mga wrong ang grammar, ang spelling. Pero kung ikaw dili ka dali nga makabantay inan, mailad gyapon ka, di ba? So online, these are examples of how people use creative techniques not only to attract your attention, but for them to hook you, to lure you, and get from you what they want. The third key concept has to do with audience, that different people experience the same media message differently. Here, it explains that media content is produced with a specific audience in mind. Ever experience cringing on something you saw on TV? Kana makita sila angay, uy, hilasan man kayo ko sa ilaha. Dili ko ganahan ani. Ipasarado na nato ni, ato na ni di na ni dapat ipasalida. Or dapat iban na ni siya. Sa mga Gen Zs, they call it cancel culture. Well, if we take a step back, maybe dili lang kita ang audience na intended audience ani na content online. So you actually have a choice not to watch them kung cringe siya sa imuha, 'di ba? Here's an example of a social media post. Medyo wholesome ta ani. How might different people understand this message differently? Have you ever had something like this happen to you? How many other interpretations could there be? How could we hear about them, and how could you explain the different responses? Take a look at this online poster I got, of course, online, no, from Facebook, from Philippine Airlines na side. This was around, I don't know, July or June. If dili ka fan ni Taylor Swift, then you would see this as a mere poster announcing some flight information that the Philippine Airlines cater. But if you are a big Taylor Swift fan, Swiftie ka, then you would understand that the poster um actually points to the different destinations kung asa mag-hold og concert si Taylor Swift. So you have your Manila, Singapore, Manila, Tokyo, Manila, Melbourne, and Manila, Sydney. Of course, exclusive ni siya sa mga nakakuha og ticket. Sana all nakakuha og ticket, di ba? This one is quite controversial, and I don't know if I'll be put in hot waters to actually make an opinion about this one. But the different reactions also has probably something to do with the different audience. Some would say, and dili, I don't want to put myself kung asa, but others were very offended. Others would say, well, it's not offensive for me. So, basig dili lang pareho ang iyang audience. But I would agree na nagid siya yung mga naligsan nga mga tao, especially those who just want to practice their religion and felt like their religion was mocked or insulted. So, I'll leave it up to you kung unsa ang inyong interpretation, ani. But I guess the differences in our reactions or opinions also has to do with, are we or are we not the audience intended for this one? But of course, kung ikaw intended audience, pero devout Catholic ka, you would still probably say na it was not dealt with ang iyahang content with respect to other people's practice of religion. I'll put it at that. The fourth key concept is that media messages have embedded values and points of view. As mentioned sa atong key concept 1 on the constructedness of media, na intention and tanan, everything is intentional. So whether intentional and put together by a person or a group of people, no? Para mas klaro. This key concept emphasizes that media messages, they're not value neutral. Dili siya pwede maingon nga, ay, dili ko pro or dili ko against, I'm just in between. As media creators or as products of media nga nabuhat, there must be some points of view na gusto niya ipagawa sa iyang post, sa video, sa iyang TikTok. Often these values or points of view are conveyed implicitly. You just have to think outside the box, or you just have to read between the lines. Others are very explicit. Di na kakailangan maghuna-huna. You know this is what they mean. For this particular core concept, it encourages media consumers like us to recognize and critically assess the underlying ideologies. Even if you'd say, oh, it's just for entertainment. Pero unsa man ang gusto niya nga ipaabot? Unsa man nga mga value ang gusto niya i-impart sa mga nakakita, nakapaminaw, nakabasa sa iyahang media content. And what are these perspectives are as embedded in their media content. Here's one example, and this one is a very good example of using media to promote good values from Vogue magazine. So if you look at this, these are just some key questions that we can ask vis-a-vis the fourth concept of media literacy. What kind of behavior or consequences are depicted? When you think about the message, which questions come to mind? What ideas or values are being sold to us audience? Here you would see that in their cover photos of Vogue, they featured Apo Wang-od. and in a time where proliferation of um, defying age is proliferating, this cover photo or cover magazine sa Vogue shows how one could actually embrace getting old, and that there is beauty with aging. As you can see here, nobody would really say na kanang dili siya guwapa. And the definition of beautiful here has more meaning, right? At the time where everybody is just too coy about getting plastic surgeries here and there. I mean, I have nothing against getting plastic surgery. You can have it if you want. But this example here of Vogue magazine gives you the value of also embracing, you know, age. Here's another one. Especially at this time, kanang uso ang mga pranks, no? Lalaking ng paprank, presinto ang bagsak. So, sometimes we wonder, kanang pagmanan-out ta sa ato ang mga influencers nga gina-follow online. What message do their contents give us? Basin sa sige ni, basin tungod sa clout, sa unsa nila ilahang pambuhatan. What do their contents tell its followers, tell its audience? You know, I particularly like this TikTok content creator nga kauban iyahang lola. And gapakita siya sa video niya sa TikTok niya nga maglali sila sa iyang lola or iyang galakgon iyang lola kay dili maligo. Simple na kay siya, makalingaw, pero there's a value there of taking care of our elderly. Makita nimo ang love-hate relationship nila, but you also see kind of respect and the kind of value nga iyahang gihatag sa iyahang lola. I hope all other influencers would be as sensible, because I know nga out there daghan kaayo tungod sa gusto mag-ilog sa mga views sa traffic bisag unsa na lang gyud pambuhaton online, no? But in this core concept, I hope as educators or as someone who is constantly or most of the times online, we can decipher the values or lifestyle that's represented in the media messages. Na yung mga contents nga, really, it's more of, dagan magod mag-follow. Kailangan i-flex ang mga gamit. And sometimes it's not necessarily emitting a sense of, uy, kinahanglan ka nga maning kamot. Ang uban, magpasikat lang yun. Nadaghan kaayo sila sakyanan, muning gabayran sa ilahang kuryente. So if you can read between the lines, you would actually know which influencers are worth following and which ones are really just for the clout. And speaking of clout, here's an example of a video nga tagan kayo siya followers. Pero you would wonder, unsa kaha ang value nga gihatag niya sa iyahang music video or sa iyahang YouTube channel. I wasn't able to find the uncensored music video of this, but I understand many were able to see it considering abot og 4 million ang iyahang views sa YouTube. But for some of you nga wala na kaila, this is Tony Fowler. I think naa siya sa Batang Quiapo. And this music video niya called MPL, I think the censor na siya karon, no? But when this was launched, there's a lot of questionable values, lifestyle, and points of view nga gipakita that I would not want for myself and would not want my children to access. Na ay part ato nga buros nga nag-inom og alcohol, na ay mga underage dito, 17 or 16, nga nagbuhat og mga sexual ang depiction, to put it that way. So I'm sure si Tony Fowler has a lot of followers. Ask your students, they know her. If you don't know her, your students definitely know her. And this should be something that should concern us, because as teachers, we don't know the kind of values that they embed to their followers or to the undiscerning audience, which are our students. Diba? What are ideas nga yang ginabaligya sa atoa? Now, speaking of cloud, the last core concept of media, key concepts of media literacy is that media messages are organized to gain profit and or power. And when I say profit, dili mo siya kailangan direct nga kanang mupalit ka. But say for example, online, following the kind of reach, likes, comments, they can all generate income to your influencers or to your celebrity nga gina-follow. So, what is the purpose of the media message that you see online? Now, media content often serves commercial interests, so such as advertising or profit generation. Kato akong gi-mention, ang mga influencers earn depending on the number of views, likes, or reach sa ilahang video. That's why I mentioned a while ago nga mag-ilog yun sila para sa attention sa audience, di ba? Because for some, it's their bread and butter. So why is this message being sent? Munang pangutana. I'll show you a music video nga disturbing kayo ang iyahang lyrics, but you would understand later on why. Not really understand, but later on we'll discuss about ano ka, nga gibuhat man nila. 'Di ba? Among the things that we're trying to ask here is, what is the message trying to sell? What's the story? How did money impact this message's creation or delivery? Anyway, I'll show you this video.
Bini-bini, sip, 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 sipin ang milk tea. Isubo mo ng aking titi. Ibaba mo na ang iyong pati. Haha! Bini-bini, sip, 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 sipin ang milk tea. At isubo mo ng aking titi. Ibaba mo na ang iyong pati. O bini-bini, sip, 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 sipin ang milk tea. Isubo mo ng aking titi. Ibaba mo na ang iyong pati. Sinayang ka, di makapaniwala ang mga mata. Grabe ang gandang Pilipina. Mula ulo hanggang paa, mamasita. Unang lakas ng dating, talagang nakakapraning ang galing. Parang hulog na langit, kaya ako'y lumapit. Pinatabi mga pangit, all mga sabit. Sa akin pwede kang umapit, hindi ko na palalampasin ito. Lalapit ako sa'yo, kikintatan ka na ganito. Sa bahay-hay, pag-ibig ay parang putot. Ang hirap itago, charot! Pag gusto paraan, pag ayaw ang daming palusot, kaya huwag ka nang magpakipot. Pagkat sa akin gusto mag-alpini. Sip, 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 sipin ang milk. Isubo mo ng aking titi. Ibabas mo na ang iyong pati.
Okay, tama na ta kay Carlos Agassi, but you get the gist sa iyahang music video on Milk Tea. And unlike before, nga na ay mga double entenders, double meaning, this one, hindi siya kailangan og double meaning kay iyahag yung gihatag ang iyahang thoughts about it. It's actually disturbing for me. I'm sure dili ako iyahang target audience. Siguro naa siya yung mga target or katong mga tao nga who dance to the beat and enjoy the music. But again, di ba, sa ato ang third concept, probably just not the audience of Carlos Agassi. However, when he was asked in one interview regarding his latest music, he was asked, ano inani man ng imuhang message? Sobra ka bastos? What kind of value? But then na siya sa concept for gi-ask sa iya. What kind of value are you trying to inculcate, or what message are you trying to sell to young audience? Why do this stuff, di ba? And sadly, unfortunately, si Carlos Agassi, sa Facebook di ay ito, nag-comment siya dito sa Facebook and said, well, if you want to be educated, then go to school. Ayaw paminaw sa ako music. And that's very sad because it's really all about clout. Kaya ana siya, sa una daw, nagbuhat man siya mga tarong nga content. Pero wala may nagtanaw. And people really buy this kind of stuff, 'di ba? Sad as it may seem, but this is what sells. But it does not mean nga ato na lang dawaton nga mao gyud ni. Daghan gid maminaw sila because bastos ilahang lyrics, daghan malingaw sa ilaha. This all the more calls for us to be critical. Kay kung critical ta, we understand that this is not a good content. And if we don't patronize it, these artists, those influencers will be compelled to improve their content making because their audience would want something good from them. Now, what's important for us and our students is to understand that analyzing how messages from media, especially in social media, kay naan naman halos atong mga estudyante sa social media, no, affect the way we act, think, and feel, and why would help us understand the role that media play in our lives and society. Now, but as I always say, media literacy, dili man siya necessary nga di na gyud ta mananaw. Nga dili na gyud na kinahanglan daotan jud permi ang social media. Ayo na pag Facebook dara, 'di ba? Uso na sa mga kaka-Facebook mo 'yan. That's not the essence of media literacy. But understanding how they work, understanding that there are people behind the construction of messages. Kaning mga post, tanong ni mo, pareho lagi sila sa gi-post ani. Nakay script, 'di ba? Uso na before. Ambot karon, uso pa ba? But understanding how they work and that there might be a group of people, dili lang usa ka tao ang involved with the construction of media, would make us demand for more, demand for the best from our influencers and even the platform. I remember there's a strong call before. I think it's also one reason nga nung si Facebook nag-rebrand to become Meta was that the kana kaayo negative things associated with Facebook, because admit it or not, ang Facebook ang usa sa breeding ground for disinformation. Sa Facebook, naglipan na ang mga fake news. Although I refuse to call it fake news, but more of information disorder. But for the context of conversation, let's just use fake news. So daghan kay nagreklamo nganong si Facebook kabalo man siya nga kani siya or kabalo na kaya niya nga ma-verify ang information nganong gi-allow man niya kani nga information to proliferate. So there's a lot of clamor, not only in the Philippines, but there's a lot of clamor online about Facebook's accountability to the proliferation of information disorder. So part siya sa reason for its rebranding. Munang nahimo na siya Meta. So with this understanding, we're able to call out Facebook and act on it. In the same way, kung kita nasabtan nato that about these concepts would also be able to empower us to call out content creators. Or kung dili man kailangan mag-call out, we'd also equip ourselves with the ability nga mutuo ba ka or dili from these 5 key concepts. Now, let's try to deconstruct digital media messages. So, very, very quickly. Here's a short video, a minute video from Bello advertisement.
Yung drinks na lang muna.
Now, for that media ad or for that TV ad from Bello, wala na siya niabot sa TV actually, sa YouTube na lang siya or sa social media. It received a lot of backlash. Dagan kay nag-call out kay Bello adto. And the call out came from valid points of view. Diba? If we talk about the authorship, ato ang gusto ipa-hold accountable ang team at advertising team na nag-come up adto nga concept to even shame people going through a lot of physical changes during the pandemic, di ba? Kinsa man ang writer adto, kinsa man ang mga team, kinsa ang director. Why did Bello allow for that kind of topic to be made into an ad, di ba? In terms of format, nagamit sila og kato, there's a woman, yan, of course, kanang, for some of first ni mo matanaw, uy, funny lagi siya, di ba? Pero later on, you understand nga, it's making fun of women's changes physically, di ba? Especially during the pandemic. Kinsa man ang mga ayang audience adto, who is it intended for? It's of course intended for women, di ba? Sa mga babae ang gusto pagid niya nga i-hit would be those women nga na ay mga insecurities. So what's the content all about? What was the message actually telling us? Kato iyahang last na ano nga let me go back to that one. Yan. Tough times call for beautiful measures. So, what is it trying to convey? What message does the ad want to sell? So, it seems a bit too shallow kay iyahang na-equate nga ang self-confidence sa babae is really has something to do with just the looks. What if nowadays siya'y kanang hormonal nga mga imbalances, di ba? There's a lot of bigger things nga mas naapektuhan ta during the pandemic. Particularly, say for example, our mental health, to really just focus on our looks. But of course, ang purpose adto is really to sell Bello as a product, no? So, using the 5 concepts of media, we understand na this particular ad should not even be there because asking the right questions would empower you to demand better contents online. Now, asking the right questions online for online messages not only will help us demand for good content or good information, but it would also lead us or equip us with the skills to identify validity, to empower us to elevate the legitimacy of media messages. Na-mention ako ganina, di ba, na lipana na gyud ang mga information disorder. Asking the right questions would help us debunk a particular message we get online. Here's an example. I saw on Twitter of that super fan, mga Aldab fans nga, di gid siya motuo nga naminyo na si Main. Clone ra lagi gyud daw to because as Aldab fan, nakita nila ni nga mga ebidensya. If only those fans were able to ask the right questions using the 5 concepts of media literacy, they'd probably not end up being Delulo fans. Diba? Uso nga term karon ang Delulo. We talk about the authorship. Asa manigikan ni nga mga photos or clips? Are these behind the scenes? Kinsa man asa man ni sila gikan? Di ba gikan ni siya sa Itbulaga? Yang authorship niya ani yang source? There's a team behind the popularity of Aldab na sila script writers, ato mga script writers nga ilahang gipa-extend pagyud ang Aldab universe. These photos are from those episodes. Dili manigikan sa ilahang personal nga offline nga like private nga mga accounts, di ba? What was the format? So nagamit og kaning unsay tawag ani ilang mga sanina nagamit og twins, are they even real twins? What made it so real or unreal? Tawag ra bala resibo may anak. So if you look at the format, na ay ultrasound pero murag wala may bata. Na ay mura og bunyag pero does not even really look like a real baptism, di ba? So what we're seeing versus what we're not seeing muna sa format. We're seeing this, but what are the things nga missing there? Naabay behind the scenes sa misa gyud, naabay video sa iyang pagpanganak. Was there ever a time that Main pop or stepped out in the public nga buros gyud siya? What was the content? Unsa man ang purpose ani sa Aldab? It's really more for the ratings. Diba? So if we ask the right questions, we'd probably save ourselves from a lot of speculations and mga delulu moments. Okay. So when we talk about authorship, gamit ato ilang main. So ato na siyang isa-usahon. You can actually do Google reverse authorship. Na wrong pag yun. Patay po pag yun. So you can try to do Google image. I-search nimo tong picture. So going back, kaning ato ang picture of Aldab Resibo Mainak, let's try to look at the source. So using Google image or reverse image search, pwede ka din you search by image, you upload the file, and you will be led to this result. So find image source. Asa siya gikan? And looking for the image source, makita nato nga mostly kani nga photos just came from fans. Pareho adtong sa Blackpink na ko nga example nga gihatag, no? Trending ngayon picture sa album. Walay ni isa nga legitimate media source or site ang nag-publish ana nga photo. So kana pa lang daan magduda na ka. Yun, sa format, so kita nato ni sila. And then you wonder, is this even real or legit? So, of course, at kung i-mention niyang audience are just Aldab fans. So, what message does it tell you? Actually, the story, the message of Aldab is really telling you katong sa tamang panahon, di ba? But it's not extended outside their personal lives. It's really just for the clout. It's really just for the ratings. That's a purpose. So siguro for this particular content, yung purpose is really just to gain clout sa mga fans nga umaasa nga tinuod yun sila. Now, gamay na lang. As audience, we have to be very critical when we consume media messages. But as creators of media, we should also be critical about the things that we produce or create and share to our audience. You have to ask the right questions. What am I authoring? Does it reflect understanding of the format, creativity, or technology? Is my message compelling for my audience? Have you clearly framed the values or lifestyle? Unsa man ang gusto nimo ipaabot sa imong audience? Have I communicated my purpose effectively? Aside from clout, mas pwede naman ang ma-educate pod ang uban to get people be informed. Now, keep in mind that media is not only something ma-entertain ka, but it's also very educational. It should be educational. Dapat na po kay matunan, di ba? Carlos Agassi. Media is manufactured, it's constructed, it's pervasive because it's just all around us. It shapes our memories. That's why there's a need for a skill for meaning making. I hope that your experience being with media is a pleasant one because media shapes memories. That when you think about the times that you were able to access YouTube or video, it's not traumatic. Kay na-trauma ka kay pagtan-aw nimo unsa man ni akong nakita, I cannot unsee. So it shapes memories. That's why it calls for us to be more responsible of the media messages that we consume and the media messages that we produce. Media literacy can empower us, media consumers and creators, to use media wisely and responsibly, whether we are online or not. Encourages us to participate in the democratic process in an informed and in a more ethical way. So these are my references. I hope you learned something for our talk, and I hope this prepared you to be informed and prepared you for the next topics on this training seminar. Daghan kaayong salamat.